All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about cash awards and scholarships that are available through the Scholastic Awards, both for students and for educators. We are so thrilled that you could all make it today. I am joined by two of my amazing colleagues from the Alliance for Young Artists and Writers, which is the nonprofit organization that presents the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. And we're really looking forward to working with you. To get us started, I'll introduce myself before I pass it over to my colleagues. My name is Katie Bonner. I'm an Associate Manager of Programs here at the Alliance. I work with our Region at Large program. So some of you may have seen emails from me before. I work with programs in areas around the country where we don't have a local partner on the ground managing the program. I also work to support our affiliate network where we have local partners in other areas that are representing the awards regionally. Hadel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. My name is Hadel Enriquez. I am the New York City Scholastic Awards Program Manager, and I work with the New York City region. And I'm also an alum of the Scholastic Writing Awards from 2008. Manny, you want to take us away?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone, and I'm Manny. I'm a programs coordinator here at the Scholastic Awards. I support both Katie and Hadel with the Region at Large and New York City programs. This is my almost second year and a half here. It's been wonderful, and I am so thrilled to be talking all things scholarships today.
Thank you both. So, as we said, today we're really going to focus on scholarship awards and cash awards available to both students and educators. Manny and Hadel will lead us through the bulk of today's presentation, starting with a brief overview of the Scholastic Awards, then moving into focusing on our scholarship awards, how you can encourage your students to apply for those awards, opportunities available to you as educators, and next steps and resources to help you and your students get started. We will end today's session with a live Q&A session, so I would encourage you as we go to drop your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. In the bottom bar at the very bottom of your page, you should just see a little Q&A dialog box where you can add in questions. Other attendees will also be adding in questions. I would encourage you to upvote questions that you also have so that we can make sure that if we're running low on time, we get to the most common questions that everyone has, although we're going to try to get to everything. And we might answer some as we go. So thank you all again for joining us. And now I will hand it over to you, Hadel.
Thank you, Katie. So like Katie mentioned, I'll be briefly going over the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. Our mission is to identify students of exceptional artistic and literary talent and present their work to the world. We do this through providing regional recognition to our honorable mention, Silver Key and Gold Key winners through local regional ceremonies. Select students who receive a national award are included in our traveling exhibitions across the country and in DC. We also publish student work in our annual Best Teen Art and Best Teen Writing publications, which is a huge honor for a young creative. Lastly, the reason why you are all here, we provide a series of scholarships, cash awards, and educator awards, which we will describe in depth during this presentation. You must be wondering when all of this is happening. Although students create year-round, our submission pool opens up in the fall. Students enter work as early as September 1st. Please keep in mind, deadlines vary by region beginning December 1st. Works are judged in the winter. Regional winners are celebrated from January onward, while Gold Key works go on to national judging. National winners, including scholarship recipients, are announced in late March, and in June, we celebrate national medalists. Please know that the works created this spring are eligible for entry next fall, and we just wanted you all to get a sense of our calendar for the year. Students who are eligible to apply must be 13 years or older and must be in grades 7 to 12. There is an entry fee of $7 per individual entry and $25 per portfolio entry, but please know there are fee waivers available to any student who needs it. Please use it at your own discretion. Again, our submissions open September 1st and deadlines vary by region starting December 1st. My colleague Katie is going to drop in the chat a series of links that will help support you in finding your deadline in your region. Next, the entry process. We are really proud that our entry process is pretty easy. It's 3 steps to enter. Simply create an account starting September 1st, upload original work, and submit a signed entry form and payment or fee waiver form. As an educator, you play a significant role in the successful entry of your students' work. Once you create your account starting September 1st, you can link your account to your students and you'll be able to support your students in the uploading and editing of their work. Please know that to qualify for scholarships, the work must be entered in the Scholastic Awards. This is required for students to then apply to scholarships, which Manny will get into in just a minute. We will offer webinars about the entry process in the fall once the portal opens up. But for now, you can check out last year's videos, which will be provided in the chat. Thanks to Katie again for sending that over to our attendees. Submission categories. So students can enter multiple pieces across different categories, including art and writing. There are no theme requirements, but as we'll see in a minute, some opt-in scholarships do center around a theme. All work is judged blindly and by the same criteria: originality, technical skill, and emergence of personal voice or vision. Please also know that portfolio works can only be entered by seniors, and they are eligible to up to $10,000 in awards. I'm sure you're wondering how the works are selected. First and foremost, the entries undergo a blind adjudication process where jurors cannot access personal student information to ensure entries are judged on merit and merit alone. This is why the Scholastic Awards ask you not to provide any identifiers such as your name, age, race, ethnic background, regional location, etc. in your work title. Judges make their decisions based on the excellence of the 3 criteria that are up on the screen: originality, technical skill, and emergence of personal voice or vision. I'm just going to share a couple of questions that judges ask themselves as they are deliberating through the young people's work. Is the submission original, different, surprising, or unexpected? Does the submission go beyond what began as a classroom assignment? Does the submission demonstrate technical skill? Is there a personal voice or vision? Is it unique? Does it make you curious? Are you moved by it? There are several types of scholarship awards. For most awards, the direct awards, winners decide how their scholarships are disbursed, meaning it can go directly to a school or program or to the student to put towards a later payment. In the past, winners have used their awards to fund a summer program, buy supplies for a creative project, or pay tuition. Tuition scholarships awards are paid directly to the program or college or university. These tuition scholarships include the Erbluck Award for Editorial Cartoon, New York Life Award, One Earth Award, Ray Bradbury Award for Sci-Fi and Fantasy, and Civic Expression Award. Please note that the listed scholarships offerings are from this past year. The exact list of awards may be subject to change. We recommend that you visit some of the resources on our website to see what scholarships will be offered for the 2022 Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. And I'm just gonna pass it on to my colleague Manny, who is gonna talk about some of the thematic awards.
Thank you so much, Hadel. Okay, so I'll just jump right in. So the scholarships that you see here on this slide, these are the scholarships from this year. Again, as Hadel mentioned, there may be changes to the thematic awards offered next year, but each theme is responding to current events and to the world that young people are experiencing today. A few awards will definitely be offered again, like the New York Life Award, for example. Your students can still take inspiration from the resources available for each thematic scholarship award featured on our website now. And Katie will drop in a couple more links about scholarships and some of the Educator Awards as well, which I will get to in a little bit. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about actually applying to the scholarships. So in order to apply to any of these scholarship awards, you of course must apply to the Scholastic Awards and submit entries through Scholastic. All entries are automatically eligible for some of the awards. And so a couple examples of this, the Best in Grade Award, all works are eligible for this, and Best in Grade is awarded during national judging. Portfolios, all portfolios are also eligible, and gold keys are automatically considered for national scholarships during national judging. Also, college and university awards. Some colleges and universities earmark scholarships for college-bound Scholastic Award winners, and you can check out our website for more information about that. And then lastly, our summer scholarships, all regional award winners in grades 7 through 11 can apply beginning at the end of January and the beginning of February. For all other awards, you have to opt in for them. So you must indicate that you want your work to be considered during the entry process itself. And so I'm going to jump into that now, the process of actually opting into those specific scholarships. Entries are submitted, as I mentioned, through the online portal by educators or students. The three main steps you need to know about this is the process is, uploading your work, upload the signed form, and complete payment or submit a fee waiver if you need it. So when you're going through the entry process, you're going to click add new work. You will then be taken to a page where you input information about the work before you upload it. And this is what you see on the screen here. On this page, you're going to see a list of all of the scholarship awards. All you have to do is check the box next to the phrase where it says, yes, please consider my work. And that's all you have to do to opt in. Then a box is going to appear where you can include a statement of purpose. So these personal statements must be more than 50 words. They should be written by the student to explain how their work connects to the theme of the award. For example, if you're applying to the New York Life Award, you might explain how the work expresses your feelings of grief or bereavement, or how your work relates to, the memories of someone that you lost. Something else to note is that some works may fit multiple awards. You can opt a single work into multiple scholarships. All you have to do is check more than one checkbox. Simple as that. So again, for example, if a work you have about climate change that you created for the One Earth Award, if it's also fitting, you may also opt in for the Civic Expression Award as well, if it fits. Okay. Now I'll jump into a little bit about judging the scholarship awards. So how are the scholarships judged? So first, works are judged based on the category and grade level during the regional awards. Then regional award winners are considered for national awards based on their category and grade level. And then scholarships are then based on what they opted into. But at all levels, works are judged again by the three core criteria that Hadel mentioned earlier. So that's originality, technical skill, and emergence of a personal voice or vision. In panels for the Scholastic Awards, they will also be judged by their connection to the theme. Note that this is pretty much the only time that works will be judged by a theme. So jurors are not only connected to art and writing, but again, also to the theme, and they have the chance to review personal statements alongside pieces at this point as well. Okay, and just want to give a brief overview here of where some of our resources live. Again, all about scholarships and everything like that, because I know we've been covering a lot in this session. So for the first one, you'll see at the top is our Healing Through Creativity Anthology and Discussion Guide. This is a guidebook that contains student works that received the New York Life Award, and there's also discussion prompts and more resources on grief and bereavement. I also just want to point out again, maybe self-explanatory, but still we'll say it. This is all on our website, all of these links at artandwriting.org, and you can find them there. And again, Katie will drop in those links as well into the chat so you have them. Let's see. So the next one here is our annual publication. So that's our Best of Teen Art and Writing, as well as our yearbook. And these feature selections of student work and a list of all the national medalists. We also definitely encourage you to check out our classrooms guides page, which actually I can open up real quickly. Let's see. Actually, I'm so sorry, I don't have it up yet. Katie, if you don't mind dropping in those links so our educators out there can take a look. So on that web page, you'll see, it hosts a number of resources related to various scholarship opportunities and also free guides for facilitating, discussions and critical thinking activities in the classroom. And then lastly, we definitely encourage you to visit all of the pages for each scholarship, also on our website, and all the prompts related to the themes there as well. And then I'm going to jump into another exciting topic, Educator Awards. So many student scholarship awards do come with additional awards, like I said, for educators. And those are listed on there. So for example, a student who receives a gold medal for their portfolio, there is a $1,000 cash award for educators. And, for different national award levels, there's different cash amounts for those educators. Some other educator awards to note is our Blick Award. So this is $50 gift certificate for all silver and gold art medalists. And it also means that it's $500 gift certificate for 5 select art educators. Educators with their own art or writing practice are invited to also apply for summer residency and retreat opportunities. So we offer 2. We have the Golden Educators Residency, which is for artists. So this again is educators of students who receive a regional award in any art or writing category are invited to apply to this. It's a 2-week summer artist residency in upstate New York. The residency offers educator artists the opportunity to unplug, experiment with unique materials and technologies, and focus on their own artistic practice. And then our second one is our Writers Retreat. So this again is educator writers of students who receive a regional award in any writing or art category are invited to apply to this one. And this is in collaboration with the Kenyon Review. Just something to note though, that is for this year. Next year, it may be another organization, but for this year, it's the Kenyon Review. 4 selected educator writers will join other participants for an online 7-day summer workshop series to hone their writing and teaching practices. And Katie will drop in a couple more links here about the Educator Awards and about these residencies as well. And thank you so much, Katie, for doing so. And actually, I'm going to turn it over to Katie now for some of our next steps.
Thank you, Manny. So before we get into the Q&A, let's just briefly review what we can do now to prepare for the Scholastic Awards in September. So again, as Hadel mentioned, works created this spring and summer are eligible for the 2022 Scholastic Awards. And our website will open to start accepting entries for those on September 1st, 2021. So mark your calendars. Right now, if you have students creating amazing work, we recommend that they save and document their work digitally. All entries are submitted through our online portal, so they will need these digital copies later, come the fall when they want to upload their works. But it's not a bad idea to have them made early while the works are fresh. That way they also don't lose anything over the summer. In order to save digital copies of writing, I think that's pretty straightforward. Type them up, save them, maybe have your students email themselves a draft so that they don't miss it, lose it anywhere. For artwork, even if your artwork is physical, say it's a painting on a canvas, a drawing and illustration, a sculpture, that work does need to be photographed, and we recommend taking those photos now. A few tips on how your students can take photos of their work from home, or how, if you have not already done so, how you can help them in the classroom. We recommend finding good lighting. Something that we hear a lot from jurors is that shadows can be distracting and take away from the clarity of the image. So using natural light on an overcast day, for example, can help eliminate shadows without washing out the work. Using a plain background also helps to avoid distractions. So if you don't have a clear space on the wall, or if your student doesn't have a clear space on their wall to hang their piece, or a clear space on the floor with a complementary colored background that they could put it on, we recommend just taking a roll of plain white paper, taping it down and putting the work up against that. And lastly, for 3D work categories such as sculpture, architecture and industrial design, jewelry, fashion, multimedia works, anything of the sort, you can upload 4 images of that work for the single entry, and we really recommend taking advantage of those 4 angles. If it's a sculpture, for example, your student may want to take a picture of the full work. They may want to take a picture of any detail. They might want to take a picture from one different angle, and they might want to take a picture of the work to scale with a ruler or some very recognizable object next to it. Those are all questions that we get a lot from jurors, and when they are looking at those panels, they may think of the work differently if they see it next to something and think, wow, I mean, that's like really detailed work for something so small, or that's impressive that they were able to manipulate that material to make it so big, things of that nature. So all of that is really helpful information as jurors are examining works. The second thing that you can do to prepare now for the fall is to sign up for an email reminder at the link that I am about to drop in the chat. That way you make sure come September 1st that you are ready to create an account and to help your students either create an account for the first time or log in for to their pre-existing accounts. Educator accounts do reset each year. So unfortunately, even if you already have an account, you will have to recreate it. It's something that we're working on. Maybe we'll have it ready for the fall, but maybe not. So for now, just plan on recreating your account or creating a new account. Some information that you'll need when you're creating your account. You will need your contact information, your students' contact information if they don't already have an account set up, or their email address so that you can find their pre-existing account in our system and indicate that you are their educator. You can request to be an administrator on their account so that you can help them through the entry process. You should also be prepared with information about your school or the after-school organization that you work with. Have the name of the organization or school ready and the address. Regions are assigned based on the zip code of your student's primary day school. So even if you work with them in a summer program, but maybe you live in Michigan and they live in Idaho, and they just come to your program over the summer, make sure that you know their day school, because they will be submitting to the region that their zip code is in Idaho, as opposed to the region that you're located in Michigan. It's a little bit confusing, but we're always here to help you walk through the process. And again, you can look up on the website now by going to My Region, the deadlines for you and your students based on your location. Those are the deadlines for this previous program year, the 2021 Scholastic Awards. So you'll notice that they're a year behind when your actual deadlines will be, but they are likely to be about the same time of year. And last but not least, September 1st, please come back to our website and create an account. And from there, you can always reach out to us and we can help you through next steps. So with that, we would like to thank you all so much for joining us and turn our attention to the Q&A. So it looks like we have one question in the Q&A here already. And again, I would encourage you all to either type your questions into the Q&A box. Once we get through those, we also have a small enough group that we can take hands and allow people to speak. So you could use the raise your hand feature at the bottom of the screen, and we'll ask you to unmute yourselves. So just to start out in the Q&A box, we have one question. Do you know when those selected for educator residencies will be announced? I believe it may vary between the Golden and the Kenyon Writers Review residencies. but my understanding is that they will be announced towards the end of the month. You should be hearing back soon. I believe that even if you were not selected, you will hear back, just so that you know that you were not selected. But those should be coming within the month by the end of May at the latest. Great question. And for those of you who are not familiar with the residencies already, thank you to Manny for introducing them earlier. The applications for those open again next spring. So after regional awards are announced at the end of January, all educators whose students received a regional award are eligible to begin applying for those residency programs. Another question here, how are national medalists selected? They're chosen from regional award winners. Yes, that is correct. All regional awards, all works entered have the opportunity to go on to be considered for national medals, but works that receive the highest regional award, the Gold Key Award, are then considered for national level work. Hadel, I believe you were talking about judging earlier. Would you like to add anything?
No, I think you said it perfectly. In terms of the regional level, young people can receive an honorable mention, silver key, and gold key. And at the national level, young people can receive a silver medal with distinction, and a national medal, and of course, all of the other thematic awards that we mentioned earlier in the presentation.
Thank you, Hadel. I see a question. Could you please repeat the last page of the PowerPoint? Thank you, Manny, for putting that back on screen. Just to quickly recap what we talked about on this page, your next steps right now are helping your students to save and document the work that they're creating this spring and summer for entry in the awards next September. Signing up for an email reminder so that we can let you know on September 1st, you don't have to worry about it, that you can start creating an account and your students can start logging in and uploading their work. And last but not least, of course, coming back in September so that you can create an account. I would also add to this, I would recommend checking out the resources that Manny spoke about earlier and that we shared in the chat. I'll reshare the link again here. But the resources on the classroom guides page found here are really helpful if you do want to encourage your students to apply to these scholarship awards. Again, even though the specific themes of some of the thematic awards may change, they're all generally related to current events and things going on in the world that your students are experiencing. So for example, if one award isn't available next year, chances are your students are creating something that's relevant for another pre-existing award like the Civic Expression Award, which is pretty broad. It's all about work related to encouraging responsible citizenship and civic engagement. So if your students are creating something about climate change, for example, as Manny mentioned earlier, that will be eligible for the Civic Expression Award as well. So I really recommend checking those out if you do think that your students would be interested in scholarship awards, so that they can check out some of the prompts provided to start thinking about how they want to create their piece. We see a question here, thank you, Hadel, for answering that in the box. The next question, can you explain the difference between silver medal and silver medal with distinction? Manny, would you like to talk a little bit about that as you're currently working with some of our winners from this year?
Yes, I had to find my mute. So the difference between silver and silver with distinction, well, first of all, they're both national medals, of course. All of our national medals is gold medal, silver with distinction, can't speak today, and silver medal. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It's basically, what's the best way to describe it? It's basically just like a work that goes up above and beyond what would normally be a silver medal. It's not quite gold medal. It's sort of an in-between space, but it's a work that really, really stood out among all the other silver medals, basically. I don't know if Katie or Haley, you have a better explanation of it, but I mean, it's extremely prestigious. Any of the national medals are, but like silver with distinction. I'm trying to remember how many we have or how many students receive that, but I can't remember off the top of my head, but it is very prestigious.
I would just add to that, Manny, I think that you covered it well. We give out 30 Silver Medal with Distinction Portfolio Awards each year. One way that it's somewhat distinct from the Silver Medal Award is just that it's another level at which we can award this prestigious scholarship without having to limit the number of students whose work was incredible enough to, at the level that jurors thought that it deserved a silver medal and that national level recognition. But we have a limited number of scholarships that we can give out every year, so we don't want to limit the opportunity for all of the works deserving of silver medals to be recognized, although we do want to distinguish these select really standout works that go, as Manny said, above and beyond and deserve that additional scholarship award. I see a question in the chat. Could you please repeat the first 5 pages of the PowerPoint? We won't go through the whole presentation, but thank you, Manny, for starting to scroll through those now. And we have recorded this session. We will be sending out a recording of it before the end of the week. So I would encourage you to go back there and you can watch the recording. And you can also email us with any questions. You can email, I'm going to put it in the chat, info@artandwriting.org, or reply to the email address where you got the reminders about tonight's session, rel@artandwriting.org. Either one of those, you can find us and we can help provide you with any information that you may have questions on. I see another question in the chat here. Those photorealistic artworks, which are completed with the help of grids, definitely excel further than those which are freehand drawn or painted. Are those winners still considered in technical skill advantage? That is a really great question. Hadel or Manny, do either of you want to speak to that first?
Well, the one thing I will say is that jurors, especially in the photography category, the film and animation category, do get a sense of the materials that are used, and they're actually encouraged once they get to the 3rd round to review all the materials for all of the art categories, just to define the materials used for that medium. And I think one of the things that we often tell our jurors, and this is why we have the other criteria of originality and emergence of personal vision or voice, is to not only focus on the technical skill, but focus on the personal message that the artist is trying to convey, and really judge based on that. Because although we want to make sure that the young people are showcasing an expert level of technical skill, we also understand they are young artists, and we want to judge based on the original perspective they're bringing to the table. I don't know if I necessarily answered the question, if that maybe complicated it more, but Katie, Manny, do you want to take a jab at it?
Oh, I think that was really helpful. Thank you, Hadel. One thing I would add to that, just as Hadel said, we recognize that these are young artists, and in both art and writing, while technical skill is valued, originality and personal voice and vision are 2/3 of what jurors are looking at as well. So a piece may make it only so far on technical skill alone, and pieces that may not have the strongest technical skill but have a really emergent, shining voice are often excelling just as far, if not farther. One thing that we hear a lot from jurors as they're reviewing works is, this looks great, but it looks like it could have been a classroom assignment without much added to it. One piece of advice that that jurors usually say is to go beyond the classroom assignment. So even though you may have some students getting different levels of art education in certain fields, some of whom may be able to perform really well technically, but may not really have much of a perspective on, or just not have a real real strong voice coming through their work, those works, again, may not go as far as some of their peers who have a really strong voice coming through their work where it looks really original. So again, it's part of three things that are being balanced when jurors are reviewing works. Technical skill alone will likely not carry a work to the highest award level. An addendum to that question, does it mean that using a grid is acceptable to win for those are lack of true technical skills? I would say that I don't know if I'm fully understanding the question, so please feel free to jump in if it sounds like we're not answering it. But I think that there is still a level of technical skill required. There needs to be some skill demonstrated. And I don't know, as someone who is not a visual artist myself, I am much more a writer and musician, so I can't really speak to the many techniques behind artwork. I may not be the best person to answer this. I don't think that there is something that really stands in for having some level of skill. It's certainly acceptable to use different techniques as you're creating your piece. It is acceptable to use a grid. We have no rules against that as students are lining up their work or mapping out what they're creating in digital art or even on grid paper that they might be drawing on for a first draft or even their final draft. There are no rules against that at all. Whatever techniques that the students employ to create their work, we certainly encourage them to do so. We do ask students to list out their materials and their inspiration as they're submitting their work. So maybe that's something that they bring up, and the jurors have a better sense of what the difficulty level is of creating a piece with those certain technical elements are and with those certain materials are. But again, that's a bit over my head. Manny and Hadel, I don't know if you have a better answer.
I think you covered it. I think ultimately, like you said, there are no rules on what materials you use. You know, if they are quote unquote like assistance materials, ultimately what matters is the composition that comes out of it. Does it, again, display an excelled level of our three core criteria?
Thank you, Manny. And if that does not fully answer your question, again, please feel free to email us. We will pass it along to people who know better and might be able to provide some more information. It looks like we have a few more questions in our Q&A. The first one, I believe writing submissions must be unpublished when submitted. Are students allowed to submit their works for publication elsewhere during judging periods if the works will not be published until later? The answer is yes. Students can definitely submit their works for publication during judging. They can also submit their works for publication before submitting them to the Scholastic Awards. Hadel, do you want to speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, and I love the second question there as well. As the New York City Scholastic Programs Manager, we go through a extensive copyright and plagiarism review as to all of the regional programs. And we often see that young people do publish their original works in their school papers, magazines, or other places. So we do highly encourage you all to submit those works. One note is that as we are going through the copyright and plagiarism review, we do often see these works in those aforementioned sites. So just making a quick note stating this piece was published in my school paper is really helpful for us internally, but we actually really encourage young people to submit those works because they often are more polished.
One other note I just want to add to that, because sometimes we get this question too, of like a work that a student submitted to Scholastic, I'm so sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was gonna say, you know what, when it comes back to me, I will repeat it. Apologies.
Thanks, Manny. We'll come back to you. Just flag us down when you're ready. And the last question in the Q&A before we turn back to the chat, I believe that Hadel and Manny already touched on this, but my school wants to post our student work on our website, but will that disqualify their submissions because they would be published? No, it does not at all disqualify them. As Hadel mentioned, it's really helpful if your student just includes the link to where their work was published, noting that it was published, it was written by them, published by their school, so that we know it's not a source that they're citing underneath their work inspirations. That way, you know, when we check for copyright and plagiarism later, we know that it is the student's work that we're seeing online there.
Oh, sorry, I just remembered what I was going to say. Sometimes we also, you know, get the question of like, or, you know, also it's just important to note that if another organization, you know, wants to publish the work, they just have, or just make sure that other organizations are okay that we also publish the works. That was the other note I was trying to say. Because again, we definitely don't have any, like the copyright is under the student's jurisdiction, but some other organizations or other contests might have other rules. So it's definitely good to just check with them as well, in case like we've published the work somewhere on our site, just like let us know.
Thank you for noting that, Manny. I see a question in the chat box. Can students submit work when they're not 13 years old but going to 7th grade in the fall? As Hadel said, unfortunately, the students must be 13 years old by their regional submission deadline. If your student is 12 right now, but they're turning 13 in October, they are eligible to enter the awards this coming fall. So the eligibility applies to the time when the students are entering their work. Students must be 13 years of age or older and enrolled in school in grades 7 through 12 at the time that they enter their work. So if their deadline is December 4th and their birthday is December 3rd when they're turning 13, they are eligible to enter. I see a question below that. Can students give feedback from judges about their works, especially the ones that do not receive national medals during national judging? Unfortunately, due to the volume of work that we receive each year, we do not have the capacity to provide juror feedback on each individual piece. And Manny can speak a little bit more to this, but I just want to provide a link in the chat to videos of general juror feedback that we do collect during judging each year. You can also check out our YouTube channel there to find recent panel events that we hosted with groups of Scholastic Award jurors where they talk about creating art and writing portfolios and give feedback based on what they've seen in the portfolios that they reviewed. So it's a little bit general, it's not specific to the work, but your students may still find some information in there that's helpful. Manny?
Sorry, I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, but yeah, we can't provide specific feedback, but we also post on our blog very often feedback from jurors there. Sorry, did you say that? Did you mention that already?
No, I didn't. Thank you for mentioning that. I posted the YouTube list.
Okay, great. So yeah, I can drop in a link a little bit afterwards, but on the Region at Large and New York City specific blogs, we do often have posts that feature jurors and more feedback about both art and writing. And we also have had, let me see. Yeah, we've had feature posts that are very helpful, I think, for students. So we can drop in those links.
Thanks, Manny. I see another question in the chat box. When is the regional submission deadline? Thank you, Hadel, for sharing the link to the My Regions page. As Hadel mentioned in the chat, the deadline to submit varies by region, starting on December 1st at the earliest. Typically, deadlines fall between December 1st and January 6th. So it depends on your region, which is found based on the zip code of your student's primary day school. So if your student lives in one town but goes to school in the other, chances are both zip codes are in the same region, but you're going to input the zip code of their school to find their deadline. The deadlines listed on our website right now refer to those from our previous awards year that just ended. The new deadlines for your region will become available over the summer. They'll definitely be up by December 1st. Usually deadlines fall at around the same time that each year. It may change if your regional program starts being managed by a different organization. That does not happen most years. So for the most part, if your deadline was December 15th this past year, it'll be December 14th, 15th, or 16th this coming year. The next question in our chat box here, how many runs do juries screen entries and pick winning works? Sometimes I saw some silver winning works are better than gold winners. Just want to know if the juries might go over what they have already picked and double check and the quality of those picked works. So I would say that there is, although jurors are all judging works based on the same criteria, there is always a level of subjectivity. So the works that you may think are better, our jurors may not think meet the guidelines for what they're looking at in the same way. So they do review all of the works. Artworks are looked at 3 times. They go through 3 rounds of judging before all awards are finalized. Writing works are read by at least 2, often 3 or more, somewhere usually between 2 and 4 people before they are awarded as well. So there are a few rounds of judging that take place. Manny or Hadel, anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it. I think the subjectivity piece is key, and especially in thinking about our criteria, some of the things that we mentioned earlier. Some judges may weigh originality a lot more heavier than technical skill. So although some silver key works may be really well versed in that technical skill, they may be lacking originality or emergence of personal vision or voice, and that may be one of the reasons why the judge decided to award it a silver medal. So one of the things that I always tell young people is just put your best foot forward and make sure it's your original perspective and voice, and you will be sure to shine.
Thank you, Hadel. Does anyone have any other questions? You can feel free to type them in the chat, in the Q&A box, or again, to raise your Zoom hand and we can invite you to take yourselves off of mute. If you don't have any more questions, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It has been so lovely connecting. Please feel free to hop off. We'll email out the link to the recording, but we'll stay on here for the next 5 minutes or so for anyone who does have additional questions. Thank you for joining us. The question in the box is where can we see the video recording? We will be uploading it to YouTube and we'll email out the link to you before the end of the week. The email will be coming from ral@artandwriting.org. I'll put that in the chat box as well. So just keep an eye out from that, make sure it's marked as a safe sender. We have one question in the chat box. The summer art opportunities are sponsored by who? That is a great question. Our summer art programs are sponsored by a number of organizations. Students have the opportunity when they are applying to the program to select which opportunities they think are a best fit for them. And we will try as best we can to match them to one of the programs that they prefer. But sometimes, you know, there are other programs that we think they will love as well. You can't find a full list of our summer scholarship sponsors on our website. Unfortunately, that changes every year, so it only lives in the application itself. But I will share the link to learn more about our summer scholarships in the chat box. And I encourage you to check it out. To give you an example of some programs, we have a number of writing project sites that we partner with who provide scholarships for 1 to 2 students to attend their summer institutes. Typically, those are day programs for students located locally. In the past, we've sponsored with places like Parsons, where they have offered scholarships for students to attend their summer programming, or places like the College of Creative Art and Design. So a lot of different types of programs that might be fitting to your students' interests. Not all of them are offered every year, but we have a number of scholarships offered every year. What is the requirement for teachers to receive the Teacher Award? Manny, would you like to speak a little bit about that?
Yes, sorry. As far as requirements, I think it just really comes down to, the student works. If the student receives, whatever scholarship and national medal that they receive, the educator, will get that portion of that part of that award package. And I think the link was dropped in earlier with the different scholarships and the Educator Awards, but I can drop that in again as well. Katie or Hadel, did you have anything else to add, or did I get anything? Anything to add there?
Just to add, thank you, Manny. I think that you covered everything, but just to add some examples. If your students win, say, the Gold Medal Portfolio Scholarship, your students receive a $10,000 award, which they can either have dispersed to their, all the scholarship entries are from 12th graders. So they may choose to have that $10,000 dispersed directly to the college or university that they're attending the following year, directly to a summer program that they're participating in, or maybe to themselves so that they can buy supplies for a future project or take some time off of their day jobs to focus on a new art or writing project. Their educator would receive a $1,000 scholarship. So all educators listed on the portfolio award receive that award, and the educator chooses how to use that $1,000. For educators of students who win the New York Life Award, which offers $1,000 scholarships to 6 students, each educator credited on an award-winning work in the New York Life Award receives a $250 cash award. So as Manny said, it really comes from the awards that your students receive, and educators credited on those works are, again, awarded with a cash award. And for the educator residencies, educators credited on works that receive any level of regional award, honorable mention, silver key, or gold key, are all eligible to apply. Those particular opportunities do require an additional application, which is made available through your dashboard. So if you log on to if you create an account in September, when awards are announced at the end of January, regional awards, when you log into your dashboard, you'll be able to see which of your students received an award, and you'll also find the links to complete your application. Any additional questions? Again, we'll hang out for a few minutes, so if you're typing in the chat box, please feel free to keep typing. But to everyone else, thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to hop off when you feel like all of your questions have been answered.